President Biden says he supports ending the Senate filibuster to codify abortion rights into law. He made the comments during a press conference at the end of the NATO summit in Madrid. The president said the Supreme Court's decision to overturn the landmark abortion rights law was outrageous. He also said he plans to meet with a group of state governors to discuss access to the procedure.
But the most important thing to be clear about is we have to change. I believe we have to codify Roe v. Wade in the law, and the way to do that is to make sure the Congress votes to do that. And if the filibuster gets in the way, it's like voting rights. It should be, we provide an exception for this, require an exception to the filibuster for this action to deal with the Supreme Court decision.
For more on this, I am joined by Sullivan. He is the deputy politics editor for campaigns at the Washington Post. Sean is also a CBS News political contributor. So, Sean, is the Senate realistically in a position to actually eliminate the filibuster to codify abortion rights? More specifically, do the Democrats actually have the votes?
Well, Ben, right now they don't. And even though the president of the United States is coming out and calling for this, it doesn't mean he can just snap his fingers or wave a magic wand and make this filibuster rule go away and allow Democrats to codify abortion rights, because the reality is they have the narrowest of majorities right now. They have 50 votes in the Senate. There are 50 Democratic senators. Vice President Harris can break a tie. And so to get anything done, including changing the rules of the Senate, you effectively need the entire party, the entire Senate Democratic caucus behind you, unless you can win some Republican votes. And at this point, they just don't have that. We've heard Senator Joe Manchin, a moderate Democrat, express concerns about changing the filibuster. We have not seen any indication that he is changing his mind. So at this point, even though the president's calling for this, it doesn't look at this point that it can happen. Now, what advocates of this move have suggested is that if the president continues to call for this, continues to give speeches about it, go on the road and talk about it, perhaps this will exert some pressure on his own party to change this rule and allow Democrats to try to codify abortion rights. But at this point in time, we simply are not there, Ben.
All right. Let's switch topics to the end of the NATO summit. The war in Ukraine was a big topic of conversation at that summit among world leaders, saying that Russia is the most significant and direct threat to peace and security in the world, and they vowed to support Ukraine. So what new commitments is the Biden administration making to help Ukraine in its fight against Russia?
Yeah, a lot of the president's appearance and a lot of this summit was about sending a message to Russia, sending a message that NATO is united and that there is strong opposition to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. In terms of specific commitments, what we've heard from the White House this week is that they are finalizing a package that would include air defense capabilities for Ukraine. And, you know, we heard the president speak at the summit. We heard other allies talk about this. It's very, very clear that they are trying to send this message of, look, we are trying to take a harder line than we have in the past toward Russia. We are not going to stand for their aggression. We also saw indications that NATO is trying to expand its alliance as well, officially inviting Finland and Sweden to join the alliance. So, you know, there really was, I think, throughout this entire summit, a really single goal that we saw from not just the White House, but other NATO allies to try to send this stern message against the Russian government.
The president might be enjoying his time overseas because here at home he faces a long list of challenges. We can tick these off: high gas prices, inflation, the fallout over that controversial Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade. So how do you see the president trying to tackle these issues once he's back?
Yeah, he's going to have a very, very challenging set of issues that he's going to have to deal with, because if you look at the situation right now with the midterms coming up in November, his party's in a really, really tough spot. There is a lot of concern among Democrats that their majority in the House may already be gone. Some Democrats have privately already written off the House majority. Then you look at the Senate, which we've talked about, where Democrats have a narrow majority. There is concern that they could lose their majority there as well. And if they do lose both chambers of Congress, that could make the next 2 years very, very difficult for President Biden. So he is confronting a lot of political headwinds. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to explain to the American people why some of these challenges are occurring. So you look at high gas prices, for example. We've seen the president time and time again blame a lot of the rise in gas prices that we've seen on Russia. We've heard him talk about, quote, Putin's price hike. And so he's trying to explain it that way. But the reality is, you know, in a lot of these battleground races, it appears, at least from polling, from talking to strategists, from looking at other data, that a lot of Americans are upset and they're not buying the president's reasoning and explanations for rising gas prices. And it's not just gas prices, it's rising prices across the board, rising price of food, rising price of rent. And this has been going on for a while, even before Russia invaded Ukraine. And if you remember last year, the president and his administration had this line that they would always use where they said, look, inflation is transitory. It's a temporary thing. We don't hear them saying that anymore. And there's a lot of Democrats in the party who worry they're already going to pay a political price for using that line. So a lot of real political challenges confronting this president, I should say, as he comes home from this trip.
And those midterm elections now are just a couple of months away, so the Democrats are really running out of time for some of these problems to resolve themselves or for them to address them.
Yeah, that's right. We're at the point in these campaign cycles where a lot of voters, historically have started to decide. Opinions start to harden at this point. And so things need to change. The one thing Democrats now are pointing to is this Supreme Court decision striking down, overturning Roe versus Wade. They believe this could be something that energizes voters that are angry about this court decision. And we've heard President Biden himself say, look, channel that anger into your vote. Go to the ballot box. Try to elect more Democrats. But it's an open question. What are voters going to be thinking about in November? Are they going to be thinking about abortion? Are they going to be thinking about the price at the pump? Are they going to be thinking about other issues? We just don't know at this point. And so there's a lot of uncertainty right now, which makes a lot of Democrats, I think, very, very nervous.
All right, Sean Sullivan, we thank you so much for your insights. It will be very interesting to see how all of this plays out in the coming months. Thank you.
Thanks.